He laughed as he said it in front of a dozen people, including his co-workers. "Oh, this is Jenna. She's just my practice girlfriend." I felt the room tilt, and not from the wine. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. For 2 years, I thought I was in a serious relationship. I'm Jenna Holloway, 27 years old, and I believed Ethan Ralston was my person. He was smart, funny, and always talked about our future like it was something real. We'd lived together for almost a year. I helped him build his wardrobe, coached him through interviews, and stood by him during late nights and big deadlines. So when he invited me to his finance firm's holiday party, I felt proud. Nervous, but proud. The party was at a fancy rooftop venue, city lights, jazz music, everything beautiful. Ethan introduced me to his co-workers, one by one. I smiled, shook hands, made small talk. I was trying to fit in. Then, just as he poured me a drink and another colleague joined us, Ethan said it. "This is Jenna," he chuckled. "She's just my practice girlfriend." Everyone laughed, like it was some harmless joke. My stomach dropped. My face burned. I froze, trying to keep my smile in place, trying not to make a scene. But inside, I shattered. I didn't know what hurt more, the words, or how easily they came out of his mouth. He didn't take it back. He didn't even look at me. I stood there, holding my glass, pretending everything was fine while the rest of the night passed in a blur. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even ask him why he said it. That would have made it real, and I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened, kissed me on the forehead and went to work. I sat on the couch in my robe, staring at the door after he left. That was the moment something inside me changed. I realized I had given my heart to someone who didn't respect it. He didn't see me as a partner. I was just practice, a placeholder, a joke. But I didn't explode. I didn't beg. I just went quiet. While he kept talking about weekend plans and future vacations, I started planning my exit. I began saving money. I updated my resume. I looked for apartments. I said less, felt less, gave less. He didn't notice. The version of me who would have cried and fought and begged for love, she was gone. The Jenna who stayed silent, who watched everything with clear eyes, had taken her place. He thought he could laugh at me in public. He had no idea what I was about to become. The morning after the party, Ethan made eggs and toast like it was just another day. No mention of the practice girlfriend comment. No apology, just casual smiles and small talk. When I finally brought it up, his face twisted like I was the problem. "Babe, it was just a joke. You're being too emotional," he said, rolling his eyes. Too emotional. That line stuck with me. From that moment on, I saw everything differently. The way he angled his phone away from me, the sudden late nights at work, the client meetings that popped up out of nowhere. He started cancelling dinner plans last minute. He stopped calling me sweet names. And whenever I brought up our future, vacations, marriage, even just moving to a bigger place, he'd change the subject or say, "Let's not get ahead of ourselves." Something was wrong. I knew it in my gut. One night, while he was in the shower, his phone lit up on the nightstand. A text popped up. "Can't wait to see you again. I can still smell you on my shirt." My heart sank. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. That weekend, while he said he had a company off-site, I checked his closet. One of his dress shirts reeked of a perfume I didn't wear. In his coat pocket, I found a hotel keycard with a woman's name scribbled on a sticky note. It wasn't even subtle. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to be sure. So I kept quiet and watched, tracked his stories, saved his receipts, and took pictures of every little clue. A phone number saved under a fake name, a lipstick stain on the inside of his gym bag, dinner charges from restaurants we'd never been to. Piece by piece, his lies started forming a picture. He wasn't just careless. He was comfortable. He thought I would never notice. Or worse, that I wouldn't do anything about it. But I wasn't just hurt. I was waking up. The man who once told me I was just practice had no idea what he was actually preparing me for. Something much bigger was coming, and this time, I wouldn't be the one left in the dark. I could have screamed at him, thrown the hotel key in his face, demanded answers about the texts, the perfume, the lipstick that wasn't mine. But what would that change? He'd lie, twist it around, and somehow make me feel like the crazy one. Again. So I stayed calm, collected, cold even. I made a decision that night, not to fight, not to fix, but to leave, quietly and on my terms. From the outside, I played the part of the same girlfriend I'd always been. I still kissed him good morning, still asked about his day, still watched his shows with him on the couch. But inside, I was gone. Every word, every smile was just part of the act. I started saving money in a hidden account. Every little extra dollar from my paycheck went there. I cut back on spending, told him I was budgeting for a trip. He didn't care enough to ask questions. Then I started applying for new jobs. Anything to get out of that dull admin role and start over somewhere fresh. I scheduled interviews during my lunch breaks, changed in gas station bathrooms, smiled through sweaty nerves. Eventually, I landed one at a respected architecture firm across the city. It was a huge step up. I signed the offer and never told Ethan. Next came the apartment. I found a small but beautiful one-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Clean, sunny, peaceful. I signed the lease, paid the deposit, and kept the keys hidden at the bottom of my gym bag. Every time Ethan thought I was going to yoga, I was moving boxes, one trip at a time. He never noticed. I left my toothbrush in our shared bathroom, kept my clothes in our closet, acted like everything was fine. And then came our anniversary. He didn't plan anything, of course. I knew he wouldn't. So I handed him a card, a simple one. On the front it said, "Thank you." Inside I wrote, "For the lessons, the love I thought was real, and the strength I found when it wasn't." He smiled like he'd won something, kissed me on the cheek, said he'd read it later. That night, he went out with friends. I packed the last of my things and locked the door behind me. I never came back. No text, no note, no fight, just silence. He thought he had me figured out, that I'd cry, beg, or fall apart. But I didn't. I just walked away. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free. The office was nothing like I was used to. Tall glass windows, modern furniture, and walls lined with design awards. It felt like a different world, one I wasn't sure I belonged in, but I took a deep breath and walked in anyway. I wasn't that scared girl anymore. The receptionist smiled and handed me a visitor badge. "Mr. Allerton will see you shortly," she said. Mr. Allerton? I had expected to meet with HR or a hiring manager, not the founder himself. I sat in the waiting area, trying not to fidget. When the door opened and I saw him, tall, silver-haired, confident, but kind-eyed, I stood up quickly. "Jenna Holloway," he asked, offering a firm handshake. "I'm Grant. Come on in." His office was warm and filled with light, not cold or intimidating like I expected from a CEO. He didn't rush the interview. He listened, really listened. He asked about my past jobs, why I left my last one, and what I wanted now. I kept it honest, but professional. I realized I was giving my best to people who never really saw me. I want to grow, learn, work somewhere that values fresh starts. He nodded thoughtfully, tapping his pen. "You seem like someone who knows exactly what she doesn't want anymore." That line stayed with me. We talked for nearly an hour, about work, ambition, design, even life. He told me he built the firm from the ground up, that second chances were his favorite kind of story. At the end, he leaned back and smiled. "Well, Jenna, I think you'd be a great fit here. We need someone like you." I blinked. "Wait, I'm hired." "On the spot," he said, "assuming you'll take it." I could barely keep the grin off my face. Yes, absolutely, yes. As I walked out of that building, offer letter in hand, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. What I didn't know yet was that Grant Allerton wasn't just any CEO. He was Ethan's CEO. The top of the ladder my ex had always bragged about climbing. And soon enough, the man who called me a practice girlfriend would have no idea just how close I was getting to the top. I didn't walk into that new job planning revenge. I walked in, planning to rebuild, quietly, carefully. For the first time in a long while, I was focused on me. The work was challenging. Fast-paced deadlines, high expectations, a culture that didn't accept good enough. But I thrived in it. I wanted to be there. I wanted to prove I could do more than type meeting notes and book lunch orders. And Grant, he noticed. He'd stop by my desk with coffee and ask what I was working on. He pulled me into brainstorms that were way above my title. When I stayed late to finish a design presentation, he stayed too. Not to micromanage, but to support, give advice, share a story from when he was just starting out. I soaked it all in. "I don't know how you ended up in admin," he said one night, "but you were meant for more than that." I smiled. I'm starting to believe that. Within 2 months, I was given my first independent project. By 4 months, I was presenting to clients alongside senior staff. I never bragged. I didn't post online. I just kept showing up, smart, focused, prepared. And then, one Friday afternoon, I saw him. Ethan. He was standing in the lobby during a quarterly company mixer, holding a drink, laughing with two junior analysts. Same smug look, same forced confidence. He didn't notice me at first. I was just another face in the growing firm. But when he did, his smile froze. I gave him a polite nod and walked past. Nothing more. He didn't know I worked under Grant Allerton. He didn't know Grant and I were now close. He didn't know I was quickly becoming one of the firm's rising stars. And I had no intention of telling him, because it wasn't time yet. Instead, I kept my name quiet. I let others take the spotlight during big meetings. I never showed up on the company's social media. I declined office gossip and avoided cross-department lunches. Revenge, if it was coming, had to be earned, not rushed, and it had to be subtle. I wasn't looking for drama. I was looking for power, for grace, for the slow, steady climb that puts you in a place they never imagined you could reach. And I was almost there. The invitation came in a cream-coloured envelope with gold edges. Grant had handwritten my name on it. "Dinner at my place this Friday," he said with a smile. "Just a small thing. Business mixed with a little wine and fresh air. I'd love for you to come." I hesitated. I had a feeling who might be on that guest list, but I smiled and said, I'd be honoured. Friday night, I pulled into his gated estate wearing a navy silk dress, simple gold earrings, and confidence. The kind of quiet confidence you earn, not borrow. The staff greeted me like I was someone important, because in that world, I was becoming just that. The party was elegant but relaxed. Soft music, lanterns strung across the patio, wine glasses clinking. I walked through the crowd with ease, smiling, making polite conversation, never oversharing. Then I saw him, Ethan. He was standing near the wine table, deep in conversation with two men from his department. He laughed at something, turned, and froze. His eyes locked on mine. For a second, his mouth opened like he wanted to say something. Then he shut it again. I gave him a slight, distant smile, a nod, then walked past without a word. Later, during dinner, Grant pulled out my chair himself. He served my plate first. We laughed over a private joke from a project we'd been working on late the night before. His hand rested briefly on the back of my chair, and Ethan watched me speak easily with vice presidents, watched me hold Grant's attention like I belonged beside him, watched me sip wine, graceful and composed, never even glancing his way again. I saw the moment it clicked, the way his eyes narrowed just slightly. He was starting to piece it together, but he still didn't know the full story. To him, I was still just Jenna, still someone he could brush off, but I didn't need him to understand me that night. I just needed him to feel the shift, and from the way he gripped his glass too tightly, I knew he did. It started with coffee, then late-night brainstorming, then long walks after work just to talk. Grant wasn't what I expected. Sure, he was older, mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, powerful in a room without trying, but he listened, really listened. He respected me, he challenged me, and he never once made me feel like I was less. One evening, after a strategy meeting that ran late, we sat on the rooftop terrace of the office. The city lights stretched below us, and the air was cool and calm. "Can I say something?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded, unsure what was coming. "I know this wasn't in the plan," he said, looking right at me, "but I'm falling for you, Jenna." I didn't say anything at first. My heart was racing. "I don't want to overstep," he continued, "and I'd never want to complicate your work here, but I had to say it, because this, whatever we have, it feels real." I looked at him, really looked. And the strange part? I felt it too. This wasn't revenge anymore. It wasn't a move in a plan. It was something honest. "I wasn't expecting you," I whispered. He smiled. Neither was I. Weeks passed. Things grew deeper. We didn't make a show of it at the office, but people noticed the closeness. And then, one Sunday afternoon, Grant asked me to meet him at a private garden he'd designed years ago near the river. He stood there under an archway of vines, a soft breeze moving through the flowers. "I don't want to wait," he said, pulling out a simple, elegant ring. "Marry me, Jenna." My eyes filled with tears. I nodded, unable to speak, and just like that, I said yes. The announcement went out a few days later. A photo of us smiling, hand in hand, printed in the company's internal newsletter, with the headline, "A love built on strategy and trust." Ethan saw it. He didn't even try to hide his shock. Word spread that he locked himself in his office for hours. He walked through the halls like a ghost. Grant Allerton, his boss, the man he'd spent years trying to impress, was engaged to the woman he once called his practice girlfriend. Only now, I wasn't practice. I was the real deal. Ethan didn't waste much time. A few days after the engagement announcement, I got a message from him. "Hey, can we talk sometime?" I ignored it. Then came the email. Then the accidental run-ins in the office cafe. He was spiraling, and I could see it in his eyes. Gone was the smug finance guy who once laughed at me in public. Now he looked nervous, tired, desperate. One afternoon, as I was walking to my car, he caught up with me in the parking lot. "Jenna," he said, forcing a smile. I didn't know you and Grant were that serious." I kept my face calm. "We are." He scratched the back of his neck. "Look, I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us. About what I said at the party. It was stupid. I didn't mean it." "Sure you did," I said lightly. "And you were right, Ethan. I was just practice. And now I'm ready for the real thing." His face dropped. "You don't seriously think this thing with Grant is going to last? He's just using you." I raised an eyebrow. "That's what you're going with? Calling your boss a manipulator because you're jealous?" He tried again, softer this time. "Jenna, come on. We had something. I messed up. But can we at least talk about it? Maybe start over?" I stepped back. "You had your chance. You chose lies, cheating, and public humiliation. Now I choose better." A few days later, I heard he tried to warn Grant, claimed I was manipulative, a social climber, only with him for power. Grant didn't even flinch. He brought it straight to HR, not out of anger, but professionalism. HR launched a quiet investigation, and soon Ethan was under review for inappropriate workplace behavior, things he'd gotten away with before, but no more. He knew he was on thin ice. You could see it in the way he walked, shoulders slumped, smile fake, eyes always scanning. And the best part? I never raised my voice, never made a scene. I didn't have to. He did it all to himself. The wedding invitations went out on a sunny Thursday morning. Cream-coloured envelopes with gold trim, handwritten names, carefully chosen words. But one invite was different. It was addressed to Ethan Ralston. Inside, tucked between the RSVP card and the ceremony details, was a neon pink sticky note. On it, I'd written, "Since you like parties so much, thought you wouldn't want to miss this one." It was petty. I knew that, but it felt like justice. I didn't expect him to actually come. I figured his pride would keep him away, or that Grant's presence would make him uncomfortable. But sure enough, the evening of the wedding, as the music played and candles flickered along the garden path, Ethan showed up. He looked rough, unshaven, sloppy suit, slightly swaying. He was alone. I saw him arrive as Grant and I prepared to walk down the main staircase. I felt Grant squeeze my hand gently, silently asking if I was okay. I nodded. I was more than okay. As we descended the steps, the guests turned, smiling, phones held up, music softly playing. I felt like something out of a dream, not because of the dress or the moment, but because I had built this life with intention. Every step here had been mine, and then I saw him. Ethan stood near the back, a glass of champagne in one hand, his tie already loosened. He was staring at me like he didn't recognize the woman walking toward him. I didn't flinch. Neither did Grant. We walked right past him. No eye contact, no acknowledgement, just a breeze and silence. I heard him whisper something under his breath. No one paid attention. A few guests glanced his way with polite confusion, then moved on. He was just background noise now. Later in the evening, I saw him again, alone at the edge of the dance floor, watching, drinking, like a ghost from another life. He never tried to talk to me. Maybe he finally understood he didn't have the right. By the end of the night, someone from staff quietly asked him to leave. He stumbled out, ungracefully, disappearing into the night the same way he'd walked out of my heart, careless and unnoticed. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. That pink sticky note had said it all. This was a party he'd never forget, because it was the one where he truly realized he'd lost. It's been 8 months since the wedding, and life feels almost surreal. Grant and I are happily married now. We live in a beautiful home just outside the city, filled with quiet mornings, warm dinners, and real love, the kind I didn't even know I deserved back when I was with Ethan. At the office, things have changed too. After a string of successful projects and some strategic planning, I was promoted to head of strategy. It's a role I worked hard for, not one I got because of who I married. Grant made that clear early on. I earned this. I didn't see Ethan much after the wedding. He avoided company events for a while. Word spread that HR was investigating him for inappropriate conduct. Nothing dramatic, just enough small things: lateness, unprofessional behavior. questionable remarks, to raise flags. Eventually, he was quietly let go. No email blast, no farewell speech, just gone. Last I heard, he was working customer support at a small call center in town. A friend of a friend mentioned it in passing, not even knowing we had history. I didn't ask for more. I never gloated. I never sent him a message or posted anything cryptic online. I didn't need to. Watching someone fall isn't as satisfying as knowing you rose above it all. Revenge didn't come through shouting or drama. It came through grace, silence, and letting karma do its thing. Every once in a while, I think back to that night at the holiday party, when he laughed and called me his practice girlfriend. I remember how small I felt, how embarrassed, how crushed. And then I look around at the life I built, the love I found, the career I carved out, the strength I discovered, and I smile. Because I wasn't the practice girlfriend. I was the lesson. Do you think Jenna made the right choice by walking away without confrontation? Or should she have confronted Ethan from the start? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really love to hear your take. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment.